check the microphone here. All right, it's good to be with you all. I did get the memo about the black tie. I didn't own a black tie, so I'm here. I'm happy to be here. Thank you so much. So I worked at St. Anne, like you mentioned, which is a Catholic church in Capel. I worked there for 25 years until about a year ago. I worked in youth and in young adult ministry for a lot of that time. And one of the highlights for me was organizing different mission trips. Now, some people would say that mission trips weren't maybe necessary because we have the need for mission in our own backyard. Like we have enough need around us. Why do we need to go to Peru on a mission trip? But I really found that like getting out of our world and just seeing the broader world, the broader church, it actually opened people's hearts to then do mission and come back and to be more sensitive and more aware and more inspired for the needs actually in our own community. So it wasn't like an either or thing. It was just so much fruit that people experienced through, it just unlocked something when people would go and experience something like a foreign mission trip. And that's what happened with Jacob early on. It unlocked something within him. And so over the years of working at St. Anne, I had the opportunity to work at several different mission trips. We used to go to Mexico. We took 150 to 200 youth and leaders to Mexico. And then when it became not safe, we then moved and had a mission trip to Laredo on the border. And then about 10 years ago, I helped organize and start a new mission trip really targeting young adults to Peru. And the one thing that became so clear to me when you're here and you're at a church, or if you're an individual and you're trying to figure out like where to like plant yourself, where to invest your time, your money, your gifts, that you are utterly dependent upon the like ground team on the other side of where you're working with. And, I'll never forget in times in early years when we were trying to schedule mission trips with the youth to Mexico. And we would do all that we could to communicate and like get ready to bring a bunch of youth. And we would show up at a work site and you would have a bunch of teenagers standing around because like the communication and people like trustworthy, like what they said they were going to do, getting done. So like, you just quickly realize that you're just so dependent. And, I learned that in Mexico, that mañana, which I know is translated to tomorrow, I thought mañana meant mañana, tomorrow. But I quickly realized mañana didn't mean tomorrow necessarily. Mañana meant mañana. And so you would get there and there was this like, there wasn't this sense of like action and being ready. And so that was such a learning experience. And once again, we just realized that whenever you're trying to share your resources and be a missionary, whether with a group or as an individual, maybe you can't go out to other countries, and maybe you want to support mission trips or missionary activity, that you're completely dependent upon the partnerships, the organization, the trust that you have with the people on the ground. And so what was so beautiful about the trip to Peru that we launched about 10 years ago was we connected with a priest, an American-born priest, Father Joe Ewan, and his church was Santísimo Sacramento in Piura, Peru, northern Peru, very deserty. You saw a lot of the pictures here. And when I learned about it, I was blown away because they have this missionary operation out of this parish that you were able to partner with to do medical missions, work in hospices, with schools, trade training, making deliveries of food, deliveries of clothing, helping build houses. And it was like, it was such a powerful partnership. And whenever there you would go and you would see, like, you would say, here's how much money we have, $2,000. They'd say, $2,000, you can build 4 bamboo homes. It's $500 a home. And then you go down there and you would see that you would go with them to buy the bamboo and the tin and all of that, and you could see the price of it. And then you would go, this young couple who was trying to have their own little bamboo house apart from their family, and you're there and they're helping you to dig the holes and build the house, It was so powerful to see that connection. Or if you sponsored a family and you said, we're going to commit $30 a month to sponsor a family, you would go down there and see how they were gathering the food and then making the deliveries to help these families just like keep their head above water. And so that organization, the personal trust, it was like you believed in them and you will do whatever. You're all in because I want to be a part of the church. I want to be part of the world. And so that was a really powerful experience. But, when I went to Santissimo Sacramento and we would go out from the main town out to all of these different villages out in the desert. And there was this one place that always stood out. And once again, we're talking the poorest of the poor. We're talking bamboo, little forest bamboo with a tin house, tin roof, no electricity, no running water. I mean, this is like when they talk about the poorest of the poor, that's what this is. But this one community of all the communities that we would serve from Santissimo Sacramento was Monte Castillo. And this town, Monte Castillo, what stood out about Monte Castillo was their water situation. Because it was known that their water, their groundwater, was contaminated and it was high in salt. And so for people that had money enough to buy, the water deliveries would come around and they would fill up a 55-gallon drum, of plastic drum that they would have, and they'd put a blanket over it to keep bugs from getting in there. So that would be their water, their fresh water, their cooking, their washing, and their drinking water, which that was problematic. There was also a channel that ran alongside the town that was like an irrigation of some water, but it was really stagnant and nasty, and there were dead animals sometimes in it. But they would get in that and try to get water there. But water was a real problem there. And as a result, we would know that Monte Castillo was so different because of the water situation. There was chronic illness, and people were sickly, and the kids weren't as developed. And so our impact on like this town through the parish and Father Joe, they were doing incredible impact in the way that they were serving communities. But Monte Castillo was limited because of the water situation until God brought Jacob into the picture. And I remember I don't know if Jacob was on the first or the second of the first young adult mission trips, but Jacob, who, if you don't know Jacob, who's the leader of VAVV, is the purest of hearted of souls. He was a young engineer graduate from Purdue working in engineering. He started having conversations with Father Joe, and he started having conversations with the community leaders of Monte Castillo. And I remember Jacob was wrestling with a call to leave his secure engineering job to launch into this as a ministry. And so I loved seeing that story unfold and was honored to be a part of it. And I'm honored to be here and to be a part of it, continue to be a part of it in being a supporter of VAVV. So because of Jacob's hard work and beautiful spirit and just fighting spirit, he has made it possible that Monte Castillo, now they have a water treatment plant that draws water off of the irrigation channel, and they have fresh water in Monte Castillo. And it's like 10,000 people in this. It's hard to imagine, but this community now has fresh water because of Jacob's call, responding, saying yes to the Lord, and then to develop the mission of VAVV. And so it's like changing lives for generations to come. And so once again, I'm really excited. I'm convicted as I reconnect with the story of Jacob and VAVV. I'm convicted to really get behind him even more than we have, to really be rooting him on, be supporting him. Because I can't, as you think about here, we can't all go be missionaries, but we can get behind missionaries. We can think about and look for people who are doing the Lord's work in a powerful way. And, and I can't think of a more organized, a more impactful, and a more trustworthy organization to get behind and to support in sharing and blessing people and serving the poorest of the poor. So thank you for having me. I'm excited to reconnect with Jacob, be a part of this tonight, and hope we can all be as generous as possible to help as he expands, I know, from 1 to now 3 communities and beyond, to bring fresh water to communities in Peru and beyond. So thank you.